The Love Talk Show on Liberty Radio.
Let's go for the top tips for marriage. Yes, Tuesday's top tips for marriage. The first tonight's tip, communication, as always, right? Communication is the foundation of any relationship. To learn to communicate with your partner. This is something, Pastor Philip, that we are even, speaking last Thursday, about the relationship with God. Our relationship with God is built upon communication. It starts with communication. When I'm praying, I'm speaking to God. When I'm reading the Bible, God is speaking to me. And if I keep this communication, going on, and if I keep strengthening this communication, definitely I will be closer to God. That's why there are people that they are getting, growing cold in their faith, because they are stopping their communication with God. Couples, they work likewise. Communication is a key, is something, is one of the main parts of a marriage. As we just read, is one of the foundations of a relationship. Couples that they don't know how to communicate, and look, when we're talking about communication, we're not talking about only be talking to each other, because perhaps you may think, but we talk. But you talk about problems, you talk about bills, you talk about, your children. But when was the last time you had a serious conversation about you? Not about problems in your relationship, but about you, to speak about how you feel in this relationship. And to also not only to speak about you, but also to have ears to hear your partner, which is also really necessary.
Communication is not just speaking, Pastor. Communication goes beyond of just speaking or talking. Go in the day-to-day life of how they treat each other and how they think to each other. So then they are communicate when they do a gesture of kindness. They are also communicating.
Yeah.
When they are like mad, or when Bishop Renato, he used to say that when he was mad, he would just give the silent treatment. It's also a way of communicating, expressing yourself. So communication goes beyond of talking. Is how you express yourself, how you position yourself in this relationship.
Exactly, and that's why the next tip is also related to communication. It says, when correcting the other, do not use offensive words. Of course, please pay attention. We're not talking about correcting each other. It's not because you be like a father or mother, or you treat your partner, as a child. That's not the point, okay? You have to understand that in a relationship, both of you have your own responsibility, you have your role to play, right? But eventually, some of you can make mistakes. Yes, I believe in every couple this happens, right? How many times, I've made my mistakes. Karina also made her mistakes. And eventually we had, to pause things and to correct those mistakes. And, who never, you made a mistake and you didn't notice that. Or perhaps you said something that offends, or you did something that, looked wrong, or perhaps for you, in your own eyes, it looked, innocent, inoffensive. But perhaps your partner that was by your side could notice, that could be an issue, a problem. And of course, there is, a correction that must be made. However, even when you correct, can you put again, please, this image, Shad? Because I believe we have a very good illustration. Can you see the way that the guy is speaking to his wife? It's not like that. It's not like that. But can you see even the thunder coming out from his mouth? Their wives that they're taking a screenshot saying, can you see, that's my husband speaking to me. Don't do that. Don't do that. Forgive him, okay? Or perhaps their husbands say, can you see, no, that's the other way around. That's my wife speaking to me. But look, it's there is also it's also related to communication, with respect. I believe, Pastor Philip, the right there are people may be saying, but how do I correct my husband, my wife? How can I do that, without sounding offensive or aggressive? I believe the short answer is simple. Try to put yourself in their shoes. Try to hear what you are about to speak. Yes, not only, as Pastor Philip was saying before, not only the words, but beyond words, checking the way you're speaking. Because I can, for example, I can ask Shad, for example, Shad, could you please grab me some water? But I can ask, I'm using exactly the same word. Shad, can you please grab me some water? I'm saying exactly the same words, word by word. But the way that I put my request changed everything. We change, the reaction as well. It changed it so much that Shad, now you want to reply. Say, Shad.
Plus, I believe it was last week we were speaking about 55% of communication is
Yeah, it's
language.
true. Yeah.
37% is tone, and 7% is the actual words used.
Exactly. So that's the importance when you have to do it. If you have to correct your partner, your spouse, your husband, please remember those old tips we already gave here. Please never do that in front of others. Do not expose their mistakes to your family, to his family, to her family. Please don't do that. Don't use that as a weapon, to later on come and say, oh, don't you think that I forgot about what you did? Please don't do that. Couples that they have already reached maturity in their relationship, they understand that there are things that I have to let go of and move on. Breathe and count to 1,000. Yes, and learn to let things go. Don't make a storm in a teacup, over minor situation. So, you understand very well, this saying, right? Do not make a storm in a teacup. Sometimes you are, giving more value to your own feelings, to your own emotions than to your marriage. You're paying more attention to your feelings than to the consequences of sometimes those words or actions. They will leave in your marriage. And as you know, words, they cannot be unsaid, right, Chad? I don't know if that's the correct word. You cannot simply go and Command Z or Control Z like, a shortcut in a computer. You cannot do that. It's not like in a movie that, actors and actresses, they are reading their lines, and for, if by mistake they missed the line, or they misread the line, or if something went wrong, somebody will from behind the cameras will shout cut, and they will go back and do all over again, pretending that nothing happened. And when we see the final result, it seems like the movie was perfect, the film was perfect, but we know that eventually they made mistakes. Life, as you know, is not Hollywood, is not, like a movie, is really different. So you have to control your temper. You have to consider the damage that certain words and certain actions can leave in your marriage.
And Pastor, it connects what we were saying yesterday about long-term relationship. We need to remember this long-term. When a person is in a marriage, when a person is want that relationship to last long, they need to think about a long term. And sometimes a word that is said today, or a miscommunication that happened today, or something that they are not communicating well, it will affect the long term relationship. It will be harder to bring it to a longer time, a longer period of time, because both parts will be like fed up, tired of always fighting or arguing or not being able to communicate.
And you know what is worse, Pastor Fia? The frustration that comes, just after that. Because people think, okay, the problem is you don't love me anymore. Or the problem is me, I don't love you anymore. I don't know, the love, vanish away. That's not the point. Because if you don't change, this way of yours, you'll be jumping, into relationships, and you will always experience that. For you to be, like that couple that we showed yesterday. I don't know if you managed to live long like them, for over 100 years. I don't know. I hope so. But you'll be able to maintain peace. You'll be able to maintain, love in your marriage. But these sacrifices must be made.
The Love Talk Show on Liberty Radio.